Well, hello. We appear to be live,
I hope so.
except we've got a swirly button, so here we go.
Oh, that's it. We're live.
We're live. Hello, success. We've managed to get
Finally.
online. So, how you doing, Chantal?
Yeah, good. So today is one of our first sessions on the coronavirus and businesses, employees, employers. It's all for you. So hopefully the points we're going to bring out will be beneficial to anyone. If you've got anything you want to ask, got any questions you want to ask, just sort of message them in and we will be hopefully able to answer them for you. I do believe we're trying.
I'm getting some WhatsApps of people trying to get on, so maybe there's too many people trying to get on at the same time.
I
and
think
it's
we're being hopeful
causing
on that point, really.
Causing a jam. We'll see. Anyway,
Yeah.
so as a few people start to come online, we'll hopefully take some questions from you. And
So we'll start off with probably the biggest one is the job retention scheme. Hi Ben, hopefully you can see us now. Finally.
our first comment. Hello Ben. Yes. So
So the biggest one is the job retention scheme. So what happened was the hi Joanna as well. The government decided that obviously it wasn't fair for employees if your business has to shut down, that you then just close shop and the employees lose out, and therefore they can only claim basically job seekers allowance, which was not very much, not even £100 a week. So they introduced this thing called job retention scheme. Job retention scheme is effectively so that if you close your business, you can still keep your employees on, but they're not allowed to work for you. So there are strict rules in what you can and can't do for this. So the employees are called, what I had to say it?
furloughing. Chantal can't say that word.
I can't say that
let
word.
alone spell it. But
can't
yes,
say
it's
that
called
word.
furloughing when you furlough an employee.
Yeah. So your employees are furloughed. So in order to, there are very strict regulations on this. So they are not allowed to work for you.
They're not going. They're not going part time.
So they're not allowed to work for you at all. They're allowed to have 0 hours with you completely. They are not allowed to, basically they're not allowed to do anything. However, they are still considered an employee. So they still get the holiday pay, they still get all the benefits as an employee, but obviously they're just not entitled to full pay. The government has said it's an amount of £2,500. It's capped at £2,500 and it's 80% of their salary. So if your salary was at £4,000 a month, say, you would receive a maximum of £2,500. If your salary was, say, £1,000 a month, then it would be a maximum of £800, which is 80% of the £1,000. What the government have not yet said is whether that £2,500 is gross, whether that £2,500 is net. But we do believe that the £2,500 is gross, and the £2,500 includes the employer's NIC and the pension contribution if it has to be paid to the pension auto enrolment scheme.
Yeah, we did check with one of our pension companies today, and even they don't know the full answer on that yet. So everyone's still waiting for the information, which will probably be released next week.
So that does mean that the employees 2.5 is not really 2.5, because by the time you take the employer's NIC out and the pension amounts, it's a lot lower than that. And then that's technically their gross figure as well. But we've still not got that in confirmed yet, and we're still waiting for that to be confirmed. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, this is a completely new system. The government have got no software at all. They've got no system in place in order to be able to do this. And this is something they are having to design themselves and to basically implement across the whole board from scratch. Now, because they have to do this, it's going to take them a bit of time, naturally. So they have said that hopefully the system will be in place for you to register your employees from next week, from the beginning of April is when they're hoping. But by the time, what will have to happen is that you will have to register each employee, all their details and everything else. You'll have to put all the amounts in and how much they were paid in February to work out their next pay and all things like that. in order for them to work out how much money they're going to actually pay you. Then you'll have to provide all your bank details for them to make the payment. Now, this is going to take a long time, and so the Revenue have said that they don't anticipate actually probably making out any payments till nearer to the end of February. End of April,
maybe into early May.
So basically, if you've got any employees in that position, you've got two options. You can explain to them the situation. Obviously, it's a financial burden to you, the company. So what you could do is explain to them the situation, what's going on, and how they have to do things. You can potentially give them maybe a payment in advance if you can afford that. If you can't afford that, then obviously there is now the business, basically it's called the interruption loans from high street banks, and there are about 40 banks that and financial institutions that have agreed to take place on this. All high street banks have. So your NatWest, Barclays, Santander, Lloyds, HSBC, Metro, they're all agreed to take those on, with a total of 40 of them. So if you need cash flow, so basically if you need money, you can go to your banks and ask for it.
I think those loans are on the up to 5 million.
Yeah, so it's a £5 million loan.
That will cover most small businesses.
Yeah, so it's up to a £5 million loan. It's usually a 6-year loan, so it's repayable in 6 years. However, the first 12 months interest is interest free. So you are entitled to the first 12 months of interest free, which is covered by the government. Now, we do know from speaking to bank managers that they are happy to give out these loans. However, they will want cash flow forecasts. They probably want sets of accounts as well and all things like that. So it might be, if you know you're going to want the loan, be prepared, go and speak to your manager or email the manager and say, look, I'm looking at this. What information will you need in order to give us this information? And then basically collate all that information so that you can go ready, armed with everything that you may need straight away, which is like really important so that you can get that funding. So that is really the furloughed.
Yeah, the furloughed employees. Okay, so we've had our first question in, and it's come from Dean. Dean is a local painter and decorator I know, and he's asked, is there any news on the self-employed yet?
So the answer to that is no. Sorry, Dean.
Yeah.
We're all sitting here, pen poised, waiting to go. There is no information on self-employment. We are aware that they are speaking amongst themselves about the self-employment. There has been speculations on how they're going to work it out. It seems that they're probably going to be working it out on previous self-assessment tax returns that have been filed. The reason for this is it's their only way of having something. So unlike employees who the employer has to file an RTI, a real-time information form, so from there they've got proof of what the February pay was. So yes, that's another thing for employees. You can't be furloughed unless, sorry, I might get it by the end of the year. You can't be furloughed unless you're actually on the February payroll. So if you are starting a new job in March, it might actually be beneficial to go back to your old employer and say to them, look, is it possible for you to furlough me because I can't get anything if I start my new job? And I think lots of people are quite happy to do that, lots of employers. It doesn't cost them anything
extra. There is an argument amongst the self-employed that it's better to get the money out to them, and the government are worried about giving it to people who don't need it. But then all the self-employed are going to do a tax return at the end of the year, so if they've got too much money from the government, there's a scheme to claim it back, and it's called self-assessment.
Yeah, so the government are looking at like how they're going to be doing it. They are going to be doing it. There is, I do believe that it will probably be announced, if not tomorrow, then by the end of the week. I don't think it will go beyond the end of the week because obviously self-employed people, we've all waited long enough for this sort of stuff, really. So I'm sorry, Dean, but as soon as we do know something, then hopefully it'll be on our next live video. So if you've got any questions, just do message them in, email them in, and I can hopefully, well, basically message them in and I can hopefully reply. If not, I'm just going to go through a couple of things that were raised just so that you are aware, just in case you missed them, basically.
For any of our clients that are on this feed or are watching it later after it's finished, just pop us an email with any questions you have and we'll address them when we do this again tomorrow.
Yeah, so another one is VAT and income tax payments for those on self-assessment. So this would be applicable to you, Dean. Anybody on self-assessment would know that you would have a payment to make in January and a payment to make in July. So the July payment is automatically being deferred. You do not need to make any applications for it. There are no penalties, there are no charges, there are no interests. So if by any chance your July payment is already set up on your bank as a scheduled payment, then I would suggest you go on and cancel it. If you've already set it up so that it comes, well, I mean, there's no direct debit system. So if you are planning on paying it, then don't pay it because effectively it doesn't need to be paid.
Well, the July payment on account anyway is based on the previous year's earnings. And
exactly, so it's based on this current tax year that we're sitting in right now.
They're expecting this current tax year to be lower earnings for people. Okay, it's only started towards the end of the tax year, but your tax payments are likely to be lower than the previous year because you're going to earn less.
Yeah,
and going on to next year, it unfortunately could drop through the floor. But
yeah, so basically the July self-assessment payment does not need to be paid, and therefore I would suggest that you don't pay it. And that would apply to all self-assessment people. For those that are VAT registered, and also, sorry, those for all self-assessment, you don't have to be self-employed for that. It is self-assessment. So those that are directors, then your dividend, the tax you would normally pay on your dividend via self-assessment, you don't need to worry about those. You don't need to make that payment. So that's fine there. For VAT, any payments that were due from the 20th of March till the 30th of June have been deferred. So there is no penalties on there and there is no interest on there either. So you don't have to actually make that payment that's due in that period of time. So that would effectively be for your February, March, April and May is due by the beginning of July. So February, March and April's VAT returns, you don't have to make those VAT payments. If you normally log on and make the payments by BACS, transfer or checks or anything else, just don't bother. If you are on a direct debit system, you do have to log on to your bank and you have to cancel your direct debit yourself. Now, I did that this morning for my own, for Champ Consultants, and it's really straightforward. You just log on to your bank, look up Manage Direct Debits, if you're with NatWest, I am. So wherever it says Manage Direct Debits, log on to Manage Direct Debits, you'll see the HMRC one for VAT, and then you just delete that direct debit. Then next quarter, hopefully, we won't be in the same situation and we can just reinstate that direct debit again. The best thing is that you remember that the payment is still due. So the revenue have not written off the payment. You still need to make the payment, but the payment doesn't actually need to be made until the 31st of March 2021. So effectively, they're just giving you an interest-free loan for however much your VAT is. So my advice would be if someone gives you something for nothing, I might as well just take it.
I hope that answers your question, Tricia, because she was asking about the VAT quarter payment. So
that's
so
what
the answer to you, Tricia, is yes, it has been deferred.
Okay, my PAYE quarter payment is due
PAYE. Sorry, we were talking VAT. So.
Okay, so that was VAT and income tax. So your PAYE payment, Tricia, has not been deferred. It is still payable. However, this applies to all payments. So PAYE, corporation tax,
VAT or income tax.
Well, VAT now we don't have to pay now for 3 months. But anything else, CIS, if you've got, there is a time to pay scheme. So the Revenue have issued a special phone number for time to pay, and that is specifically for coronavirus. It's advisable as your accountant, but we can't actually phone that number because what they do is they set up a payment plan with you. I'm just looking for the phone number here on my notes, but I do have it here.
It's a free phone 0800 number, and I advised the client the other day to phone it and told them expect to be on hold for a long time. As you know, HMRC are often like that. And they told me that the phone was answered within 2 minutes. So some good feedback there. I can get that number for you.
Yeah, so they are looking and they are doing it. The phone number is 0800 0159 6559, and that is actually on one of our other social media feeds.
Okay.
So
Ali Humphrey's
that
come
was
up with
answer
a
your
very
question.
similar question to what Dean asked earlier. So welcome, Ali. Can the self-employed claim? Well, this was mentioned again in Parliament today, and it was debated yesterday. The answer is we don't know what's happening with the self-employed yet. The word on the street is we might hear something tomorrow. So we're waiting to hear what the news is for the self-employed people. But hopefully, yes, there will be something to help self-employed people. Obviously, it might be based on your last year's tax return or the last 3 years' tax returns. And if there's an overpayment of any kind, then potentially they'll claim it back through your next tax return as well. So watch this space on that one, I'm afraid. We don't know the answer to that yet.
Also, a question from Joanna. The link on the 80% furloughing, you're quite right. There is no link at the moment.
Well, there's a link to some information, but it doesn't give you a link to go and make the claim yet.
Yes, no. So in order to make the claim, what they are waiting to do is will be setting up a brand new portal. So it is a completely separate system. So we are waiting for the portal to go live. It's just being released hopefully over the next week or so. So hopefully we're expecting that to go live. So the portal should go live hopefully next week. Once it's gone live, then that's at the time you'll be able to register the employees and everything else. That's basically why they're saying they probably won't be actually making any payments until the end of April, because they haven't even got a system in place for us to tell them how much money to start paying us.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, yeah, you're right, Joanna. There is
Joanna, if you want to
nothing
see
there.
the latest advice, if you go onto the gov.uk website and you can search coronavirus job retention scheme, and you'll read what the current information is, but there's not very much there at the moment other than what the Chancellor's already announced.
So yeah, and also if you need any, we will be basically doing these every day. So we will be announcing as soon as it becomes available on our social media and also on our daily videos as well. Statutory sick pay, I suppose really, if you have got employees who are sick due to COVID-19 or due to the coronavirus, then as I said, you would be able to pay them statutory sick pay. Normally statutory sick pay does have a 3-day delay and they're normally payable from day 4. However, in this case, it's payable from day 1. So statutory sick pay is payable from day 1. However, please keep a note of how much statutory sick pay you need to claim, because at the moment, the software schemes available, all your basically payroll bureaus, whatever you use, do not account for SSP from day 1. And therefore you need to at the moment keep a note on it, because the rebate scheme is being developed still and it's still not ready. Bit like everything else, they've had to do everything all in one go, so that's not quite available yet. We've got here the obviously business rates and grant loans. So the business rates for holiday, as a business rate holiday effectively, for retail, hospitality and leisure businesses. And this is for the whole tax year, 2020 to 2021. So this is, they haven't actually given an amount on the business rates holiday figure. But if you have had a bill through, then please don't pay that bill. And wait for the new bill to come through. A new one will come through at a later date, but it's not come through yet, so it will come through at a later date. In addition, you have got the grants for those sort of businesses. So those in retail, hospitality and leisure businesses, you have got the £25,000 grant per property. So this is a grant per property depending on how many properties you have. The grants are variable, so it depends. You could be entitled to anything between 10 and 25, but it all depends on things on your business rates. the grants are come through from your local authorities. So literally you do nothing. You sit and you wait for your local authority to contact you. Now, the information to the local authorities is only just being released to them at the moment in order for them to understand what to do and how to administer it all. But also they want their funding, I suppose. Once they get all of that, they will then be able to issue you with documentation to cancel your rates bill if you have one, and also to explain to you how they're going to distribute your grant. Also, there is a, so hopefully that answers those for those in that sort of trade.
There's a couple of questions.
Okay, so we'll cover those ones then.
So both Ben and Joanna have, Ben and Ali have asked about universal credit. Can they claim universal credit? Yes, self-employed can. Ben has asked, is it worth doing it yet, or wait until the self-assessment announcement? Well, given that they just said on the news not 20 minutes ago that they've had an unprecedented number of universal benefit claims this week, about 500,000, I think it is.
And I think just like 20,000.
The queue yesterday to verify your identity reached 100,000 at one point, the online queue. So people are giving up and not getting through at the moment. So given that we're hoping that the self-employed announcement will be within the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe it is worth waiting and then making your claim. But yeah, I mean, so many people are claiming at the moment they're barely coping.
So yeah, so it might just be
even the government departments, they're all short-staffed at the moment because they've got staff self-isolating as well.
So Ben, I'd probably say you might as well just wait for a couple more days so far.
And
if you can.
The universal credit, I think, is £94 or something a week. So it's obviously it's not going to replace what most self-employed people are earning.
Yeah, but it has just been increased a bit as well. So
yeah.
Also, so for those smaller businesses or those not in the retail, leisure and hospitality trade, you also have a basically a grant that's coming through, and that grant is a one-off grant of £10,000. It's eligible to businesses to meet their ongoing costs. Now, obviously, the only problem with these grants, they're lovely, they're brilliant, they're grants, which means you do not pay them back. That's like a little present, really, I suppose. However, they have to have a premises, so it's only relevant to those that have a commercial premises and are paying business rates. So for those of you who might work in a cabin in the back of your garden, or working from home, or anything like that, these are not relevant to you. So hopefully we're going to hope that maybe they would start looking at those, just like they're looking at employees. So I would imagine that that might be covered under the self-employment section as well, which will be tomorrow. And just like the grants for the others, the grants for the £10,000 for these other businesses do not need to be anywhere. So you don't need to do anything either, and those ones will just come literally through the door as well. So I've just had another question here.
From Sarah. We've done all the other ones. So Sarah's the next one. She says, do you think there might be anything done for those with limited companies where you are the sole employee?
Yeah, so I'm hoping so, yes. So obviously it depends. The revenue haven't talked about these people at all. So it hasn't, under the furloughing rules, all that's actually been
furloughing even?
Furlough, look, I'll just call it the F rules because I feel like it sometimes. Under those rules, he hasn't actually said what happens to director-only payrolls. He hasn't actually said what happens to directors who are basically having to close their doors, what's going to happen to those companies. And he hasn't actually said what happens to, sorry, I've got hair in my mouth, what happens to those on 0-hour contracts. So there's a huge number of people that, even though he said 2,500, that's just, to me, your regular salaried people who know exactly how much they're taking home every much every month. But those on hourly contracts, those on 0-hour contracts, they've actually not been covered. So I would imagine that once we know whether the 2,500 is gross, whether the 2,500 is net, what it actually is going to be made up of, at that point will be known more information about all the different things that we can do. And I know James and Sarah, you're both confused, as are probably the rest of all those people as well, and us as well. But unfortunately, what the revenue have done is obviously they've answered questions to help people, but they haven't then taken it the next step and provided us accountants or payroll bureaus or anyone else with how they're actually going to regulate it, how they're going to put this all in place, and what the 2,500, who it covers.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
unfortunately, unless we get more of that, we don't know.
Have 0 hours contract employees, that might be your local cafe or something like that. We still don't know the answer, but it's likely to be like they do with other things that they calculate, where they look back at the past 12 weeks average or something like that. Or
yeah, we don't know.
We're waiting to see if that will be the case. Directors, obviously, a lot of directors take a small salary and then they take dividends, and obviously 80% of a small salary doesn't go anywhere near replacing the dividends that you're losing. So we're still waiting to hear on what might happen there. But
remember, those that are on a salary dividend scheme, you would be normally paying your self-assessment tax bill in July. So you don't pay that, basically. So it doesn't matter. They might still send out reminders because it might be on an automatic system, but you have got an automatic deferment. So you do not need to make that payment, and it is interest-free and penalty-free. So it is very, very beneficial for you not to actually make that payment. My final, I've covered the time to pay. So basically, time to pay, for anybody, just to remind you, is any taxes that you are financially basically liable to pay. So any tax liabilities. So any VAT that you might have had to pay before the 20th of March, when this rule came into effect, then this would be covered under your time to pay. Any corporation tax bill, any PAYE bill, any CIS bills, any sort of tax that you might have to pay at the moment, there is a time to pay service, and this is specifically for those businesses affected by the coronavirus. And it's definitely worth giving them a call.
Sarah's just told us she paid her July payment early. So, a bit of a shame.
Sarah.
Obviously, Sarah, if you don't earn enough this year...
Or maybe we can claim a refund for you, Sarah.
If you get your tax return in early, the earlier you get your tax return in...
Well, no, we can just claim the refund anyway. It's not due. It'll probably show up on your system as a repayment, maybe.
Let's hope so.
Sarah, send me an email to remind me, and I'll look at it this afternoon. Otherwise, if I can get you a repayment, I'll get you the repayment on the July payment so that you can have that back now. And then not make it till January 2021 when it will be due at that time.
And by the time it gets to January and we've done your tax return, we might find that the payment is not as much as you've paid anyway. So
because you already made the January payment. The last one is commercial insurance. Now, most insurance companies are unlikely to cover pandemics or unspecified notable diseases such as COVID-19. So what you should do in this case is I would probably not even bother reading the blurb of your insurance document and just contact your insurance broker straight away, because there are certain conditions there that if you have to terminate your business due to HMRC or due to government ordered closures, that you are then covered. So I would then probably say the best thing there is to contact your insurance broker and ask them directly what are you covered for any insurance, loss of earnings, or basically having to close the business. So your insurance broker will be the best person there to speak to on that matter. So there's just been, they're the main things. There's been a couple more things that have come out today. So the ones that have come out today since I printed off my document really, is that MOT. So if your MOT is due on or after, after the 30th of March, you now have a 6-month extension. So basically, it's a bit scary really, because to me that also means that they might not think this will be sorted in 6 months' time. But
they're also saying you do need to keep your car in a roadworthy condition. So if your
car needs to be a good working car still.
Yeah.
It needs to be legally allowed on the road. So you have got a 6-month extension for any MOTs that are due to expire after the 30th of April. So, I mean, they understand that people have to get to work if they can.
Just make sure you check the tread depths on your tyres.
Yeah, exactly. And that sort of stuff. There was another one, MOT, and there is... Matthew, you can carry on talking and I'll do a quick check.
Oh, okay. Well, so as
Any
you
more questions?
possibly noticed, we had a small interruption earlier, so I hope you're all enjoying working from home. It's quite hard working from home when teenage children come barging into the room, so I hope you're having as much fun as we are with them. Fortunately, our children are all working from home with school and video conferencing. So for our clients, Champ Consultants, we are available on Zoom. It's a video conferencing app that we're using to stay in touch with all of our clients. So if anyone wants to get in touch via video conference and have a one-on-one chat with us and not over Facebook Live, do just send me or Chantal an email. We have video conferencing capabilities. We will send you the link for you to come and join us online. And if you're working on your cloud bookkeeping or whatever it is, we can look at your screen, or we can load it up on our screen and we can allow you to look at it, so we can show you what needs to be done or what's going on. So if you are business as usual like we are, and you're trying to get work done and you're struggling with something, get in touch, send us an email. We'll get back in touch with you and we can do it over video conferencing. So it's a really useful tool, and the account is free. So if any of our other clients want to carry on working, why don't you check out Zoom? I'm not on any commission for them. I'm not being paid by them, but we've just found it's a really good way of keeping in touch with clients. So anyone wants to get in touch, do give us an email.
The other one I remembered is that companies, obviously you have 9 months in which to file your tax return, your accounts. So those with a June year end, your company accounts are due at Companies House by the 31st of March.
That's in 5-6 days time.
June, 9 months, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So 31st of March if you've got a June year end. Due to coronavirus, HMRC and Companies House have basically agreed that any company wanting to apply for a 3-month extension can do so. Now this is an online application. It takes about 15 minutes to apply for it. If you're a client of Champs, then we think that we'll probably be doing them automatically anyway, just to give you and us a bit of extra time, because we're all very bit manic at the moment. So this would just give us an extra 3 months in which to file your tax return, in which to file your accounts at Companies House. Naturally, the corporation tax is technically still due 9 months and 1 day after the year end. However, in that situation, I would then contact the Time to Pay Bureau, Time to Pay phone number, and ask them for assistance in time to pay. So if you are not a client of Champ Consultants, or you do your own tax accounts or whatever it is with Companies House, and you don't think you're going to get them in time, you are able to file for a 3-month extension with Companies House, and this is done online through your online portal. So yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any other questions.
We haven't had any other questions come in. We're hoping we might get a few more people tomorrow, so we're going to do another live tomorrow, same time, on Champ Consultants page.
There'll probably be a lot less information. This was our first one, so we thought we'd cover all the different topics
so far.
Yeah. And then obviously what I will do is I will keep notes of everything that has happened since, or anything that I might have missed and forgotten to mention today.
We'll have some new people come on and they'll ask similar questions, and we'll go over some same ground, so hopefully everyone gets a chance to hear it.
Please bear with us as well.
But do join us again tomorrow, 2 o'clock, on the Champ Consultants page. And we'll go live every day until people don't want us to anymore.
Yeah, and so if you've got any questions that you might have in the meantime, then please do message them in. You can DM them to us via any of our social media channels.
Yeah, so search for Champ Consultants. We're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and you can also email us. That's info@champconsultants.co.uk.
Yeah, and I think that covers everything for today. Keep safe.
I think it does.
Enjoy living at home and enjoy working from home.
Yeah.
You might never be doing it again, so it might be a benefit.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Keep safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.